Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as we preview the Fulham game, but also big stories coming in about Maguire, Fred and Ronaldo being booted out of Manchester United in the summer. This is a live story that's coming out. We'll also be talking about Wayne Rooney and his, people are saying how great and refreshing Rooney is, but I don't think he is. I think he has a bias like everybody else. We'll also be talking about a few other bits as well. Also, did you realise our next game after Fulham will be Burnley? I didn't realise. I thought after Fulham on Sunday, our next game is Boxing Day or the day after. Actually, we'll play a Carabao Cup game before Christmas. I didn't even know about that. Interesting breaking news. But lots to get into on the show tonight. I almost feel like this Maguire and Fred story, being in the pub, having a drink, I almost thought I couldn't believe my phone, how much I've had to drink. And then the Christmas jumper is not because of the news, by the way. If you want to get your United Stand Christmas jumpers, this is our very first knitted jumper. It's got a number 20 on the back. Can you see it? I think you can. It's got all 20 Premier League titles that we've won. Actually, it's got 13 Premier League titles and then 7 Division 1 titles. Knitted jumper available. Get the link in the video description and get it sorted. I think it's pinned. It should be pinned in the live chat as well, but I don't think it actually is. I had pinned it. Why have you not pinned it? I don't know why I haven't pinned it. I will pin it in there. But look, let's fly into the show. Lots to get into. It's Friday night. It's a different vibe on a Friday night show. If you don't know, you might get a bit disappointed. It's very different on a Friday night. We do a bit of a Q&A. I get very hot in a knitted jumper. Looking handsome in the jumper, Mark, says Sam. I'm feeling a bit hot, actually. But I should be all right. I'll just untuck around the waist. There we go. Be fine. But loads to get into. I want to hit straight away with this story that's come from Jamie Jackson in The Guardian, basically saying that Manchester United and Erik ten Hag will listen to offers for Harry Maguire in the summer and we will not renew Fred's contract. Ozzy, welcome to the Members Club. Look, is it music to my ears? Bluntly, yes, but not. I'm not like hounding them out of the club. I just think it's the right decision to do. And I think I've mentioned this so many times. I think Erik ten Hag is obsessive. He wants to win. He's impatient. And if he can see what we see and he knows what we know. And it's maybe took him a few weeks to realise because we've been watching it for years. Last season, when United were terrible, we were playing... Ten Hag was managing Ajax against some Dutch farmers. I mean, look, let's be honest, that league is a bit shit. It's below the top 3. But he had no interest in what Man United were doing. And we're sat there watching McFred in the midfield and Magaluf at the back and the back 6 and the crap counter-attacking football and the worst Premier League season we've ever seen. And we know it like the back of our hand. Do you know the back of your hand very well, actually? I've not looked at them. I'm looking at you. You're looking at the back of my hand. I can see it now. I've ruined that. I was going to say, do you know your back of your hand very well? And I was going to say, I can't see the back of my hand. I'm going to try and describe it. When I look at the screen, I've got my streaming service, so I can see it. I mean, I know I've got a mole there, a little mole. Not one of them ferret-like things that dig in the mud, but like a freckle or something. But yeah, apart from that, I've got another one. I didn't even know it, so I don't know the back of my hand that well. Anyway, I digress. We know that. We know the issues with McTominay and Fred. We know the issues with Maguire and Lindelof. We know the issues with Wan-Bissaka. We know all these issues. But I think it's taken Erik ten Hag time. And also, if you look at the development of Rashford and Deleu and De Gea, he's got to back himself to say, well, maybe they were crap last year, but I might be able to improve them. So these decisions that he's about to make over the next few weeks were never going to be made in the summer. He had to give these people time. And I think he's given them time and realised what we all know, that there are certain decisions that need to be made that the club won't like because they've spent a lot of money, but he has to make those decisions. Have you got the Brum-Sunderland game on, Mark? Both Ahmad and Hannibal starting. I didn't even know they were playing, Joshua. I did actually go for a walk earlier and saw a few Birmingham fans walking towards the train station with their Birmingham City tops on. I just thought they were full kit wankers. I didn't realise, actually. Now I should have apologised. Lily, thank you very much for joining the Members Club. But look, there's a lot to be put right by Erik ten Hag, and I want to talk about the Fulham game because that's the game at the weekend, but this is obviously the breaking story. Manchester United and Harry Maguire, apparently from James Jackson in The Guardian, he's going to listen to offers for him in the summer. And when you look at the Fulham game, and let's bring Fred into this as well, that's my predicted ten Hag lineup. Maguire's fit, and so is Fred, and they're not in a team that's actually got quite a few injuries with it. That sort of is your biggest hint in the world. there'll be people out there going, yeah, let's get rid of them, they're crap. There'll be people out there saying, maybe I would give them a bit longer. But we're playing Fulham at the weekend. Varane's not fit and Maguire's not playing, I don't think. And it's touch and go whether he does. I mean, it's not definite he's going to play, is it? Maybe he will start, but it's not definite. That's a big hint that the club captain, who cost 80 million quid, isn't really definite to play if Varane's injured. He's not even definitely third choice centre-back. So, of course, you've got to look at it. Of course you have. Hi, Mark. Please don't leave the United stand. I'm only 10 and I wish you would stay from Casper, says Venetia. Thank you very much. Can I just say this? Next Thursday, we've got a big announcement. You're going to want to see that. On Monday, what a swan song. Monday, I cannot believe. This is like my dream. It's a real, you might not like it, but it's a bucket list thing for me again to do. And we'll be releasing it on Monday, so watch out. I'm not interviewing Roy Keane. I'm not doing keep-ups with Ronaldinho. It's nothing football related, actually. Or it is a bit football related, but I'm the star, basically. I don't want to be arrogant, but I am. But we released on Monday. I'm really looking forward to it. So make sure you watch out for that. But back to the Fulham game and back to the Harry Maguire story. I just feel that, look at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, legend of the club. But how much money did he waste? 50 million on Wan-Bissaka, 80 million on Harry Maguire. That's 120 million. Dan James. All right, we've made a profit on that, but it wasn't a good signing, because a good sign, you can't say it's a good signing because you make profit on it. That's not what we're not bloody Stoke. We're not here to buy people and sell them for profit. So Dan James didn't work. I mean, let's not say this about Sancho because I like him, but if you throw Sancho in the equation, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's wasted 200 million quid. It's a lot of money to waste, isn't it? So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. My personal feeling is Fred needs to go if we're going to keep McTominay. One of them has got to go because we need to improve in the midfield. And my personal opinion is that we need a centre-back that can play in... We need a centre-back that can challenge Varane and Martinez. And at the moment, we've got two centre-backs in Lindelof and Maguire where we're going, which one's going to be the least damage limitation? And that's not the way to play. We need a centre-back that can challenge Varane and Martinez, and we don't have that with Lindelof and Maguire. The drop-off is huge in playing style and ability. So we have to sell Lindelof or Maguire in the summer, and I would actually say Maguire is the better one to get rid of because he doesn't suit the way we want to play. He's on nearly 200 grand a week. He's the club captain. He is the one that I would move on. And the funny thing is, if we move on to the Fulham game at the weekend, because I do want to get into your chat as well, I agree with you about Donny, Phil. I do agree with you about Donny. I spoke about that this morning. When I look at the game against Fulham at the weekend, that's my predicted United lineup. And Mitrovic apparently isn't going to play for Fulham. So he's another one of those. I mean, it's a really weird Premier League weekend. I reckon we might get a few weird results, to be fair, because it's the final weekend and then the World Cup starts in 7 days. If you are a player that is going to play in the World Cup and you've got to play a Premier League game this weekend, it has to be, you can't be a robot. You have to be in your head, I really have got to be careful this weekend. And I would argue that with anybody. Absolutely anybody. Graham Souness or Tony Blair. I don't care. I would argue that with anyone because it's human nature. If you know the World Cup's coming up in a week, then you're not going to risk yourself. Anthony is not playing in this game. No way is Anthony playing in this game. That's detrimental to Manchester United because I think with Anthony we've got a better chance, but there's no way he's going to put himself forward to play for this game. And can you blame him? People will go, well, that's not good enough. We've paid £85 million for him to be a Man United player. I'm telling you now, when it comes to Argentina and Brazil, those players are putting their country before Man United because that's how passionate these players are. And we benefit from that. But Anthony ain't playing at the weekend. And Mitrovic ain't playing at the weekend because he wants to be back for the World Cup for Serbia. So it's going to be a weird weekend. Fulham are an interesting side. Lovely location on the River Thames. Don't swim in it, you'll die. It's a horrible, horrible river. But it is iconic, and the Craven Cottage is right on the verge of the Thames in a fairly affluent area of London. Their rivals are Chelsea. Rich area of London. But Fulham have had a reasonable season. They're sort of mid-table, aren't they? I think their home record is they've only lost one game at home from 7, which for a team that many people predicted to go down isn't too bad. They're well organised. I mean, they've got some decent-ish players. Willian, Pereira, Paulinho, Wilson off the wings, not too bad. But this is a game we've got to win. After that Villa game, we've got to win. And this is how I think he will line up. Max says, I hope Maguire impresses in the World Cup so we can sell him for higher. How much do you think he's worth? Well, we spoke about this morning. I think if we can get Maguire out for 30, 40 million, you know, we're gonna make a 50% loss, and we're gonna do it on Wan-Bissaka as well. But United overpay. I would love you to answer me in words on this. Why is Ten Hag satisfied with Martial, a 25-year-old lazy striker on the field who has been in the club for 5 years? Says Matten. Well, I think that's a very... we'll talk about that as I go through the team. So, De Gea in goal. Obviously, Dillo is suspended. I would play Malacia, because if you put Lindelof at right back, you've got to play Maguire. And I don't think that Lindelof at right back is very good, because the way that Ten Hag plays his right backs, he wants them to get forward. So I think you're better off playing an inverted left-footed right back than Lindelof at right back. So I think Malacia will play at right back, Luke Shaw at left back, Lindelof and Martinez is what I think he will go with, because Mitrovic isn't even going to be fit. So do you need the aerial ability of Maguire? I don't think you do. So I think you'll go Lindelof and Martinez, because they seem to work better together than Martinez and Maguire. Casemiro, Eriksen and Bruno in the midfield three. Rashford needs to go to the left. Martial will play up front. And I would put Garnacho on the right. He might go with Elanga, but at 18 years of age, I'd go with Garnacho off the right. Why not? Gives us a bit of threat. Nothing to lose. Last game before the World Cup, I'd give Garnacho a run out. Which obviously means if Ronaldo is fit... Obviously, Ronaldo's ill, but if Ronaldo is fit, I don't think anyone's going to sit here and tell me that Ronaldo needs to start this game. I don't think he will, and I don't think he might not even make himself available. I won't be reading into that too much. Sam says, girlfriend's still got a poster of you in the bedroom, Mark, refused to take it down, and I'm concerned. I'm concerned what poster that might be. I haven't had many high-definition pictures put out there, so it must be very grainy. But, yeah, you know what. Anyway, let's move back to that. Ronaldo is ill. World Cup's coming up. Does he want to go and sit on the bench at Craven Cottage, or will he just go, I'm still ill? Ronaldo may not even be available because he's not going to start. We may have seen, some people seem to think that we've seen the last of Ronaldo, but I don't know about that. We can talk that a little bit about that Carabao Cup game, where we'll have to play a lot of reserves, because I can't believe... I thought our next game was the day after Boxing Day. The fact that we've got to play Burnley on the 20th, 2 days after the World Cup final, is, you know, the Carabao Cup maybe doesn't look as good as it did now. But that's how I think Ten Hag will line up. Would you make any changes? Would I make any changes? I mean, what I would say, in all fairness, is we do need to move Maguire on. I agree with that. I think for his career, he needs to move on as well. He's just never going to be that level. He's never going to play for Liverpool. He's never going to play for Man City. He's never going to play for Arsenal. He's never going to play for Chelsea. He's never going to get picked, maybe for Spurs, but he's never that level. And at 29, you need to play regular football. So he does need to be moved on. But what I would say is, for me, would I make any changes to that team? I wouldn't necessarily not pick Maguire. I mean, I just don't... I know I'm in the minority, but I don't actually see a massive difference between Lindelof and Maguire. What I do agree with Ten Hag on is that Martinez and Lindelof seem to have a better relationship, and Maguire just seems all over the place this season. Literally all over the place. I mean, that Ollie Watkins goal yesterday was criminal for a defender. He's just in no man's land. He's got no idea. But yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to Maguire starting this game, but I think he will go with Lindelof. And as I said, I wouldn't make any other changes. I think Malacia's got to play at right back. There's no way Wan-Bissaka's going to play. So, yeah, I think that is pretty much the team I would go with. And against Fulham, I do think it's going to be tough. I don't think it's a walk in the park. I think it will be tough. And as I said, at some points during the last 24 hours, if we can win that game by 1 goal in a scrappy game, I think the most important thing on Sunday night is 3 points. That's 100% what it's all about, 3 points. I just want to mention Ronaldo. Do I think he's played his last game for United? Maybe I do. I mentioned this on the morning show today, that Rooney had been on TalkSport and said that basically Ronaldo's out of order. He needs to buckle down and get on with it. And Roy Keane wouldn't have put up with it in his day. And I was listening to somebody today I think it was Luckhurst on the podcast, and he was saying what a great pundit Rooney is. He doesn't have any bias. He just says what he thinks, this, that, and the other. And I thought, you know what? You've not done your research there, have you? Because Rooney's got the same agents as Harry Maguire, and he was on Sky about 6 months ago talking about Harry Maguire when Maguire was playing crap, and he wouldn't say a bad word about him and was saying what a good player he is. So this is what I mean. Nobody's the perfect pundit. Nobody's the perfect fan. Everybody's riddled by contradiction, and you can't sit there and say that Rooney is such a great observer of football and he speaks from the heart and he speaks so unbiased. I remember him on Sky Sports about 6 months ago at the end of last season talking about what a good player Harry Maguire is. And I was like, I can't understand that. And then someone said there's some connection. They're all part of the same agency or something like that. So yeah, Rooney's played the game, Stephen, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to buy into this whole... I don't mind everybody having a different opinion. I think that's what life is all about. But I'm not going to sit and listen to people telling me what a great pundit Rooney is because he's calling out Ronaldo and they used to play together and there's just no bias there. I mean, maybe he doesn't like Ronaldo. Maybe he doesn't like Roy Keane. Maybe that's why he's doing it. Because he didn't call out Harry Maguire 6 months ago, and there's definitely a relationship there. So let's not pretend Rooney's there just Mr. Unbiased. I think they've all got a bias. They're competitive sports people who've retired. Everyone's got a bias. So no, I personally think that Rooney answered that question absolutely fine. TalkSport obviously asked the question, but I just, I don't think Ronaldo would be shaking his hand if he was at the side of the pitch anymore, but I think we just need to move on. What I'm looking forward to on Sunday is I want Martial to have a really good game. I want to be looking to January to bring another striker in. And if Ronaldo can get his move, great. Because my big issue with Ronaldo is that this is not going to change. I don't know whether you watched... Stuart Pearce was a breath of fresh air, to be honest, as Mario. I don't know what he said. But I don't know whether anybody watched Adam's reaction to the press conference at lunchtime. I was in the pub. But... Terry Ten Hag, as I call him on a Friday night. Eric Ten Hag basically said that Martial's his number one striker. So if we do come, people would say, has Ronaldo played his last game for Man United? But whether he has or he hasn't, if he comes back in January, he's going to be back on the bench again, and then we're going to go through the same process, which we haven't even had yet. Ronaldo sat on the bench when Martial was injured. If Martial stays fit, Ronaldo's going to be sat on the bench a lot more between January and May. And then it's the whole... And look, it's not Ronaldo's fault especially, but there is a circus around it. So, look, I am a massive fan of Ronaldo. Everybody knows that. But I accept, as many people have accepted, that Manchester United and Ronaldo both want to part ways. And that needs to happen. But it's not necessarily Man United's problem to solve. I think they should have solved it in the summer better. But there has to be an offer that suits everybody. And I really hope that there is. For Ronaldo's sake, for our sake, for United's sake. Because we need to move on from it. And, I mean, obviously, if Martial can't stay fit, that's a big if. But if he can stay fit, then Ronaldo's going to be sat on the bench anyway. Nihar says, Scott, as striker thoughts. Is Phil Jones still a Man United player? Garnacho, 7x7 is 49. Coincidence? No, that probably is not a coincidence, actually. There's probably a lot of logic to the fact that he wears 49, 7x7. I'm currently going through a separation with my wife, says Naz. Thank you, Mark and United Stand, for keeping me sane. Also, I live in Qatar. World Cup will be interesting. Well, at least you can just focus on the World Cup over the next month, and by which time you'll probably go, wife? What wife? I hope. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the terms of separation. Maybe you're happy, maybe you're sad. But the World Cup is on your doorstep, and watch it, enjoy it, and you got to grieve. You got to go through the process. I know. All the best, basically. Scooby-Doo is a striker. I don't know where this McTominay crap is all coming up from. He used to play as a striker in the youth, but bloody hell, can you imagine him playing up front? God, he's not quick enough. No, not for me. He reminds me of Ian Ormondroyd. Was it Ian Ormondroyd? No one will remember who he was. Yeah, so I just want to talk about this, and then I want to get into your questions because it is a Friday night show. I'm just reading my stuff here. Yes, definitely. So, right, I didn't realise this. Last night we beat Aston Villa, I did realise that. Then we got drawn against Burnley. But what I didn't realise is that our next game after Fulham is Burnley. I thought, and I'm wrong, I thought that after Fulham on Sunday, our next competitive game, I know we've got the 2 games in Spain in early December, which we'll do watch-alongs for, but they're basically pre-season. I wrongly thought that after Fulham on Sunday, our next game was, is it Wolves? Or is it Bournemouth? I can't remember. Bournemouth or someone. Someone shit. The day after Boxing Day. I thought that was our next game. And I was like, well, even if any of our players get to the World Cup final on the 18th, give them a week off, they might be back for that. Oh, whoa. I'm completely wrong. Our next competitive game, and I never even knew they'd done this. I thought the Premier League had basically said that it's 6 weeks without football for the Premier League and your next game will be Boxing Day. No. I'm wrong. Our next game is Burnley on the 20th of December. So the World Cup is on the 18th. The World Cup final is on Sunday the 18th. Our next game is on the 27th of December in the Premier League. Well, it's not anymore. We've got a game on the 20th against Burnley. Bloody Burnley. If you're not got to the Europa League final, would you attend the match or do a watch-along, says Jack? I don't know, mate. How do I know the answer to that? I've just been down the pub, mate. It's a Friday night in fucking November. Do you think why are you planning my life? I don't plan my life like that. I live my life day to day. Wherever I lay my hat is my home. Wherever I lay my hat, that's my home. You're biased too. The way you defend Ronaldo is the same way British media defends English players. Nor you're an idiot, and you don't listen. I've literally just said it's time for Ronaldo to go. What are you talking about, bias? You're talking out of your ass, mate. You're talking out of your ass. Anyway, look, let me focus on the point in question. We're playing Burnley, right? Bloody Burnley on the 20th, 2 days after the World Cup, right? Burnley, the Championship don't have as big a break. The Championship start playing again on the 11th. So Burnley play QPR on the 11th, then they play Middlesbrough on the 17th, and then they play United on the Tuesday. So Burnley are going to have 2 competitive games before they play us at Old Trafford on the 20th. Burnley's a good draw for Man United, but we won't have played a competitive game since Fulham, and then we will play them. They'll have played 2 competitive games before they play us. They'll have all their players as well. They're currently top of the Championship by 2 points. So they're a decent side. And we will probably be missing, depending on how many people... Well, look. Basically, any international that makes it to the quarterfinals won't play against Burnley. So you're talking Varane, Casemiro, Martinez, Fred, maybe Bruno with Portugal... maybe Rashford with England. So we're going to have a lot of players out for that Burnley game we're going to have a lot of games out. Because what's going to happen, I was speaking to somebody about this the other day, the World Cup players will be given time off after the World Cup. So they won't be back for Burnley unless they're knocked out in the group stage. You get knocked out in the group stage, I think the group stage finishes early December. Week off, come back, play on the 20th. But we're going to have a really shit team to put out against Burnley. So I've only realised this today. You might not even be interested in it, but we will not be putting a good team out against Burnley. And they will have played 2... We will go into that Burnley game cold because we haven't played a game. They'll have played 2 Championship games before us, and we'll have most of our first team not playing. We will still have Martial, De Gea, Lindelof, Sancho, McTominay. But Eriksen, go through the team. Delot, Martinez, Maguire, Shaw, Eriksen, Casemiro, Bruno, so our whole midfield, Anthony, Rashford, Ronaldo. Basically, most of our first team won't play against Burnley. So, it'd be very interesting how it pans out. But I didn't even realise we had to play that game. Imagine Liverpool Man City. Although both Salah and Haaland will play, but weird. And this is what I mean. This season is just so weird, isn't it? it's almost like they've gone, you know, this is a competitive sport, but shit, we're getting a load of money from Qatar. Fuck it this year. Don't worry about it. Everyone will be going, but you're ruining the integrity of the Premier League is sort of broken because you're putting a World Cup in the middle of it and you're making us play 3 times a week. For this year, fuck it. Won't matter. Doesn't matter. The money we're making from this, just fuck it. But you're making us... We've just played a competitive game against Villa last night, and then when we play Burnley, we won't have 75% of our first team. Fuck it. We're making millions from Qatar. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And nobody will call it out because, you know, the club should be calling this out. Burnley have got a great chance of beating us on that Carabao Cup game. Absolutely brilliant chance. They'll have their first team, they'll have 2 games to play, and we'll have 75% of our team not playing. It is a joke. It is a joke, and nobody's calling it out. They're just going, oh, well, you know, we'll be fine. We've got Donny, and we've got Sancho, and we've got McTominay. It won't. Adam says, you and your community don't respect Ronaldo. Swivel on that, mate. Have a good swivel on it. And going to be missing Malacia as well. Yes, Paul, yeah. I mean, it's a weird way to think, isn't it? But if you want United to... And I will say this, if you want United to do well straight after the World Cup, you need Portugal, Brazil, Argentina knocked out early days. Because if they go deep, which they may well, I don't think that if you're playing in a World Cup final on the 18th, and let's be honest, Brazil and Argentina, that could be the final, according to many people. If you are playing in that World Cup final on Sunday, the 18th of December, and it's Brazil against Argentina, I will tell you for free, there is absolutely no way that, well, they definitely won't play in the Carabao Cup, but there's no way Casemiro, Martinez and Antony are going to play against Forest on the 27th, and probably not Wolves on the 31st either, because the 18th, they'll be given at least a week off, and then they'll have to get back into the groove. So, yeah, we're going to miss... People aren't talking about this enough. They don't realise that the World Cup is not just smack in the middle of the Premier League season. Players will have time off after the World Cup as well. It's an absolute shit show, basically. It's a shit show, and it makes a mockery of the Premier League and every other tournament because it's not being played in a fair way. Like that Carabao Cup game against Burnley shouldn't be happening on the 20th, and the only reason it's happening is because they've got to shoehorn it all in, but that is not football integrity. And Burnley fans will be going, oh, what you want about, and I'll be saying, I'm not listening to you. Who are you? But there's no integrity in a tournament when 75% of our first team is not available. There's no integrity in that. There's zero integrity in that. If they were all injured or they all had COVID or whatever, then all right, okay, let's play the game. But hold on a minute. I've just had a light bulb moment. Was it not the Premier League 18 months ago who were cancelling and postponing games because we didn't have enough first-team players available? But hold on a minute, Mark, and everybody watching. Remember a couple of years ago, or wasn't last year? Remember a couple of years ago, United had 2 games postponed just before Christmas because we didn't have enough players. In fact, was it not last year under Rangnick? It was a year ago. Wasn't it after Norwich a year ago? It was only a year ago. This makes it even better. This point's now gold. A year ago, after Norwich, 2 of our games got postponed because we had about 5 or 6, 7 or 8 first-team players out. So the Premier League basically agreed that we can't play those games because the integrity of the league would come into question when you've got so many players out. But a year later, we haven't got a pandemic, got a World Cup. Oh, of course you can play in the Carabao Cup without 11 of your first team squad. Absolutely fine. The hypocrisy is hilarious and nobody's calling it out. So, COVID pandemic, 9 players out of your team. Yeah, we'll postpone that. 9 players out of your team for a Carabao Cup game. Nah, fuck it. You better play because it's the World Cup. Nonsense. What's up, Mark? Do you like Guinness or I had a pint of Guinness today, Nihal. So, there's your answer. What do you think of Rooney saying that the team plays better without Ronaldo? Do you agree? Good questions. Get your questions in. That's from Noor. I think it's a bit of a yes and no answer. I heard people who don't really understand the game of football saying that Man United last night proved why we're better without Ronaldo, and I'm like, oh God, that's agenda. That's a clear agenda, because the first half against Villa last night was better than night nurse. And I'm not talking about a real night nurse that comes around and, you know, dabs your head and when you're feeling ill and tucks you in and maybe gives you a... Anyway, I'm talking about night nurse, the thing you used to, you know, night nurse. It was like, I don't know whether you get it in your country, but it was this like medicine you can take when you're not feeling well. It's meant to help you sleep. So United first half last night were, you know, night nurse FC. It was boring. It was crap. And then we brought Eriksen on and we started creating chances. So riddle me this. Did last night prove that we're better off without Ronaldo? Hold on a minute. What last night proved is that McTominay and Fred are crap in the midfield, and Eriksen came on and changed the game because we started passing to our attackers. So I couldn't take last night as an indication about whether we're better without Ronaldo or not, because anybody who knows football knows that what changed that game was Eriksen coming on for Fred. What I would admit, though, is that, and there's two things I'll admit, and I'm never, you know, people seem to think that I'm stubborn. I'm not stubborn. I'll always say when I'm wrong. You know, there's two things I would say here. I've been a big advocate of Donny van der Beek being given game time. He started 3 games in a row, and he may as well have not started 3 games in a row. And I think a big decision needs to be made, to be honest. But back to Ronaldo, what I would say is we're more mobile up front. So we scored 4 goals last night. 3 of them were basically about speed on the break, because they came from basically, you know, on the break. And obviously Martial and Rashford are quicker than Ronaldo. So if you want to play on the break, you're better off without Ronaldo. But did I see a style of football that was anything like we played against Spurs with a high press? No. I thought last night's game was pretty counter-attacking in the second half. And the defending was shit by both teams. So I think we will be better off without Ronaldo. But I'm not going to disrespect the fact that Ronaldo made us relevant last year, scoring 18 goals in the shittest United side I've ever seen. So you will not catch me disrespecting Ronaldo. What I will say is, and that's my issue really. There are people out there who who are United fans who just want to shit on Ronaldo. And I don't mean in a sex way, like they you know, it's a fetish, because that would mean they liked him, or maybe not, I don't know. But I mean in a general, they just want to abuse him. They just want to have a pop at him. And I'm never comfortable with that, because if you can do that to a legend, what's your angle on supporting this football club? Because the thing that brings me the most passion for supporting this club is why I support it. You know, as a kid watching the VHS videos with my granddad, you know, teaching me about George Best and Duncan Edwards, Brian Robson, the class of 92, Roy Keane, Eric Cantona, Wayne Rooney, Van Persie, Ronaldo, Vidic, all these people, Beckham and everyone that I love. I'm more passionate about that than this team. And why wouldn't I be? Because those players delivered. They were Manchester United players. This set of players at the moment, I hope they can deliver, but they bloody haven't for 10 years. So I don't understand this whole abuse thing that resides about Ronaldo. Because for me, it's a very recent argument, isn't it? There is no criticism to be placed against Ronaldo up until this season. And also, it's a very mature conversation. The way that Ten Hag plays, he wants to play Martial. He can only play one striker. Ronaldo can't play off the wing anymore. He was one of the greatest wingers I've ever seen, but he can't play on the wing anymore. He has to play up front. And I think that Martial suits the system better. And Ronaldo doesn't want to sit on the bench. So it's a very mature conversation. It's time for Ronaldo to leave, and it's time for United to find a way out. And it's time for United to move on. Ronaldo doesn't suit the way Ten Hag wants to play. It's as simple as that. So technically, yeah, we are a better team without Ronaldo in it. But people, you know what I mean? People interpret that in a different way and use it in an abusive way. Ronaldo's shit. That's not true. That's not true. Like literally 5 months ago, he just finished as our player of the year and the top goal scorer. He's not shit. He just doesn't really suit where United are going in a rebuild at 37, obviously, but also the way that Ten Hag wants to play. And it's a very frustrating position for Ten Hag, and it's a very frustrating position for the fans, and it's a very frustrating position for Ronaldo. But what keeps me sane on this is my respect and love for Ronaldo as a legend of Manchester United. And I want to maintain that. And their best way for that to maintain that is for this situation to resolve itself very quickly. Nothing will please me more if Ronaldo goes to the World Cup and scores goals. Nothing will please me more than that. Part of me, I'm not Portuguese, I'm English, but, I do want Ronaldo to do well. I do want Martinez to do well. I want Bruno to do well. I want Varane to do well. I want Malacia to do well. I want our player. I want Eriksen to do well. I actually probably feel more of an attachment to those players than I do to people like Maguire for England, because I'm a Man United fan before I'm an England fan. So I want them to do well, but I do think that there has to be an end game, and I do think it will be in January. I think United are open to the move, and it's basically about George Mendes finding that move. That's the big thing over the next few weeks. Reading Erik ten Hag speaking about Donny, I think he can still come back. I just think the team is not seeing the options when he is in good position. He was not involved in the game, but was in good positions. What do you think? I think this is a great question by Alexander. Do you think Donny would play better box-to-box than Cam? So 2 questions on Donny. I want to appreciate Brendan for that, and I want to appreciate Alexander for this. Again, Donny van de Beek seems to be... I really wish United fans could just turn the temperature down a little bit on things they don't like. Whether it's Maguire, Donny, Ronaldo, Rashford, Bruno. It's so aggressive. It's so aggressive. Just turn it down. In life, turn it down. Like, even at my heights of ranting and raging, I'd always use a bit of banter in it. That defence is like a field full of cows on laxatives. Shit, just try and find a bit of something to tone it down a bit, because even now I still just see this abuse and aggression and toxicity, and we are trying to rebuild this football club, and Ten Hag will make the right decisions. We've spoken about Fred not getting a new contract, Maguire maybe being sold, maybe Sancho will go, maybe Bruno will go, who knows, but Ten Hag I trust to make the right decisions. You've got to back the manager. And I think Alexander makes a great point. Whatever happens with Donny van de Beek, you've got to listen to what Ten Hag is saying. Now, I've listened to some journalists say he's got no right to play for Manchester United. He's clearly not good enough. We've known this for a long time. He shouldn't be playing for Man United. He needs to go. And I'm like, that's great. You've got an opinion. Well done. You've discovered your arsehole and you're talking out of it, because I quite like that saying, actually. Well done. You've got an opinion. You've discovered your arsehole. But I think that you've got to listen to the manager, because we can all have an opinion, and you've probably noticed it with me as well. When Ten Hag made Harry Maguire the captain, I absolutely did not agree with it. Absolutely did not agree with it. But what did I say? The manager is the manager. He must be allowed to manage, and he must be backed, and if he makes it, if it ends up being a mistake, he must be allowed to learn from it. And it was a mistake, because Maguire's not even playing, really. So it was a mistake to make somebody the captain. And I think Ten Hag's intention in the summer was to play Harry Maguire from the start. That's why he played him against Brighton and Brentford. And he learnt that mistake that we already knew. And it takes me back to what we were talking about 20 minutes ago. Ten Hag wasn't watching Manchester United like you were a year ago. He was watching Ajax. He had no reason to watch Man United. We weren't even in the bloody Champions League, were we, last year? I can't remember. Maybe we were. Fuck knows. Anyway, he wasn't watching United to the detail we were. We know all the problems, but Ten Hag needs to learn them. So he will make mistakes, but he has to be allowed to make those mistakes. And I would liken the Donny situation now to what happened with Maguire in the summer. Maguire's my captain, starts him against Brentford and Brighton. He's going to be his first choice centre-back with Martinez. Varane sat on the bench. We lose the both games. Ten Hag realises, shit, he's not the right sort of centre-back for the way I want to play. Brings Varane in, the team does really, really well, and Maguire can't captain a team he's not playing in. You learn. I think with Donny van de Beek, we're probably going through the same process. And at some point, you've got to stop. Liverpool did it with Klopp. Man City fans have done it with Pep. Newcastle fans are doing it with Eddie Howe, and Arsenal fans have been through a journey, but they're now doing it with Mikel Arteta. You've got to learn your manager. This is the first tip I would give anybody. If you are supporting a club, analyse your manager. Realise who they are. It will cause you a lot less stress and frustration. Analyse your manager, listen to your manager, and you'll pick up loads. You'll start to learn about their character, their behaviour, their style, what they're likely to do. You'll start to figure things out, like we're buying a right back in January because he won't go anywhere near Wan-Bissaka, even though Deleu's suspended. It's very, very clear that that is something that you've got to do. And when you analyse Ten Hag, you will start to realise what's going on. He's spoken about Donny van der Beek about after every game that he started him over the last week, and he keeps saying the same thing. People, obviously, I know he can score goals, I know he can make assists, but the role he's doing, I think he's doing it quite well. And he talks about where he's taking up positions and this, that, and the other. Now, to the naked eye, what's a naked eye? What is a naked eye? I don't know what a naked eye is. But to the naked eye, many people would quite rightly say that Donny van der Beek hasn't played well for the last 3 games, because he hasn't. But what does Ten Hag want him to do? Is Ten Hag covering for him, or is Ten Hag genuinely saying, I'm quite happy with some of the positions he's taken up? Because there's 2 trains of thought with Donny. 1, he's playing badly and he's just not good enough. Or 2, he's taken up the right positions, but we're not giving him the ball. Now, I'm sort of 50-50 on that. I don't think Donny's been good enough. I really don't think he's been good enough. But I also see plenty of occasions. He's certainly not a player who goes hiding. He's not hide and seek. And McTominay's improved on this. But if you think about McTominay last year, you could visibly see him hiding. The back 4 get the ball, and he'd position himself between the centre-back and the striker so there's no passing lane. He didn't want the ball. He is improving on that. You have to in a Ten Hag system. You watch Donny van der Beek, if you get to watch him again. He doesn't hide. He's always running. All I see Donny do is this. He's not trying to catch a bowling ball. He wants the ball to feet. And we don't do it. So, look, maybe Ten Hag's being kind and in his head he knows it's over for Donny. Or maybe Ten Hag is being honest and feels that there's a player there. Look, I believed in Donny van der Beek. I'm not ashamed to say it. It's almost like when you get something wrong in football, you have to hide and delete tweets and this, that, and the other. Screw that. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. Football is so objective and subjective that you're going to get some stuff right, you're going to get some wrong. I think Donny van der Beek, I said it a few weeks ago, 75% chance he won't be a United player in a year's time. I'd still stay to that. You could even go higher. But do I think he'll go in January? Probably not. Do I think we'll find a move for him in the summer? Probably. Would I swap Donny van der Beek for Tielemans right now? Of course I bloody would. So, look, have I given up on Donny? I'm quite late in giving up on anybody, really. Despite my motor mouth, I am quite late on giving up on players. I haven't given up on him yet, but it's not looking great. I hope he can turn it around, and I'll say what I've said before. If he can't make it at United with Erik Ten Hag, he's never making it at United, is he? We can still get good money for Van der Beek. Ajax have got a lot of money. We know, because we've given it them. And I'm sure they'd take him back. So, we're not in the same position as a Maguire, where you're like, who's going to pay him 200 grand a week and give us half of 80 million? I think with Donny, there's reasons to chill. I don't really understand the aggression and frustration in the fan base around Donny van der Beek. Ten Hag is trying to give him a chance to see if he's good enough. If he doesn't take that chance, there's a path out for Donny, there's a path out for us, and we'll get... we're not going to get 35 million, but we might get 20 or 15. John says, patience is needed with Donny van der Beek. Ollie stunted his growth, sent him out on loan. He came back, got injured, needs time to find some confidence. I want to move on to other points, but what I will say about Donny is, and I'll argue this with anybody, I don't think he's played very well the last 3 games. But I remember Donny van der Beek playing in an FA Cup game with McTominay in a midfield too. I think McTominay got man of the match, but I thought Donny played well as well. I remember him playing games about 2 months before that with Fred in a midfield too, and he played well. I think there's this myth around Donny van der Beek that he's always been shit. I actually think that Van der Beek was a little bit like Eric Bailly. He would come in and play a couple of games, and then certain players would be fit and they'd get dropped because he wasn't a favourite. I would agree that Van der Beek over the last 3 games has looked very, very, very below average. But when he used to get his chance, I always thought he did pretty well. And then he'd be out the team. The Eric Bailly syndrome, I call it. I remember Eric Bailly playing away against Chelsea, and I think he did it twice, but I certainly remember it happening once. He played away against Chelsea. We won 1-0. He was arguably man of the match. And the next game, I think we played West Brom or something like that at home. Someone shit. And he dropped him for Lindelof. And I was like, fucking hell. For fucking hell. You know, what manager does that? You go away to Stamford Bridge and you win, and Bay basically helps you win, and then you drop him because Lindelof's back. And that's how Solskjaer managed. Like, it didn't matter what you did. If you weren't in his favourite 11, you were out. And that definitely did happen to Donny a few times. Donny going to get fourth choice in the Carabao and Sancho, says Parrott. He'll have to play. Donny van der Beek will have to play. I think the World Cup's going to be very interesting. I mean, I must admit, I don't really want to talk about the World Cup massively, but this weekend will be interesting on how United play with so many of our players going to the World Cup. But it's not a massive break, is it, really? I really did think we weren't going to play after Fulham on Sunday till the 27th, but this game against Burnley really means that those games against Cadiz and Betis are really important for us, because Burnley are playing 2 games before they play us. The Championship starts on the 10th. So those games against Cadiz and Betis, they're not just, fitness games. That's probably going to be most of our team to play against Burnley in a cup game that we would want to win. Because the interesting thing about the Carabao Cup is Chelsea, Arsenal and Spurs are out, and one of Liverpool and Man City are going out. So we're basically second favourites to win that tournament. So that Burnley game's quite important, because when you're second favourites to win your first trophy in 5 years, you've got to try and win that game. So I'm pissed off. I am pissed off because I think the integrity of the Carabao Cup is in the mud. The fact that you can be forced to play a game with, 80, 90% of your first team not there is a disgrace. But we've got to try and win it because, and I'm not disrespecting Newcastle, but I'd still say we're second favourites. Donny is better than McTominay or Fred, yet he might be sold to Stephen. We've got to strengthen the midfield. We've got to strengthen at centre-back. Yeah, we have to do it. Any chance that this isn't going to be the worst World Cup ever, says Kyle? I think we'll enjoy the World Cup. I mean, look, we're going to do, I think we're doing every game on That's Football, so we'll all watch it because there's nothing else to watch. I think there's a lot of people, look, I think this World Cup is a disgrace. I think where it's being played is a disgrace. I mean, like November. I think having a November World Cup is a joke. We've never had a Winter World Cup, and it's in a country that's not known for football, so it doesn't make sense. There's a lot of political angles on why people aren't happy about it, but the fundamental thing for me is football. I don't like talking about politics and stuff like that. I want to talk about football. And the integrity of the Premier League, the Carabao Cup, the Europa League, the Champions League, the FA Cup is massively diminished by this World Cup. Those Boxing Day fixtures, there will be teams who are missing 2 or 3 players in the Premier League, depending on who gets to the final. If Portugal play in the final, Bruno and Dalot will not be playing for Man United until the new year. Cancelo and Bernardo Silva will not play for Man City until the new year. Is that fair on Man City and Man United? No, it's not. You're being, it's like injuries, isn't it? Or suspensions. It's not fair. So that's my big issue. But when it happens, we'll all be watching it. Of course we will. I mean, I'm really looking forward to watching Brazil and Denmark. I think that's one thing I would say about this World Cup. I'm really looking forward to watching the United players. Whether it's England with Shaw and Rashford, whether it's Denmark with Eriksen, or Argentina with Martinez, or Portugal with Ronaldo and Dalot and Bruno, or Brazil with Casemiro and Anthony and Fred. I'm really looking forward to it. And there are other players as well. Malacia's Netherlands. I'm trying to think who else we've got in the World Cup. Have I named them all now? I think I probably have named them all, haven't I? Have we got anyone else? Palestri, Uruguay, maybe he'll get a bit of game. Imagine Pogba playing with Casemiro in that midfield, says International. And we need to consider investing in the midfield. Fred and McTominay showed they're not up for it. Brendan, the same Maguire story says that we probably won't renew Fred's contract, and I think that would be a very good idea. Garnacho didn't get called up. He didn't get called up. Adam says he's not going to watch any of it. And Garnacho didn't get called up. Yeah, you forgot Maguire, says B. Oh yeah. Block says he loves me. Thanks, mate. Chart shows tomorrow. Yeah, I'll do a morning show and then we'll pop the chart show up a little bit later. Obviously got the watch along on Sunday. Big announcement next Thursday. I'm not going to say any more about that because people start talking about stuff. And on Monday, really excited about this video on Monday. It's not like me with Ronaldo or anything like that. It's just, it's me, really. It's something I've done. Donny will shine in a possession-based team, says Loy. And what I will say is, it's really interesting, all this conversation that everyone's having about Ronaldo, Maguire, Fred, Donny van der Beek, Wan-Bissaka, signing a striker, signing a right-back. It's really interesting that people are having these conversations because it's absolutely correct. Erik ten Hag on Monday morning starts work again, and he's got 4 weeks until we go to Spain, 5 weeks until we play Burnley. So this next 3 or 4 weeks, and I know this for a fact, the next 3 or 4 weeks, Erik ten Hag is talking signings over the next 18 months, sales over the next 18 months, contract renewals over the next 18 months. Those three things are huge. It's not just January and the summer. He's talking about 18 months. We're talking about end of next season. So sales, purchases, contract renewals. These are the top three things Ten Hag is talking about over the next few weeks, as well as assessing and analysing his first 3 months in charge. He's not off on holiday. 4 big things to discuss, and decisions are going to get made on who's on the way out, who's on the way in, and who's getting a new contract. And it's going to be a massive 4 weeks. And you know what this manager's like. He's obsessed, and it's great. HAG in Group C and Brazil in Group G. Looking at the knockout bracket, they will play semi-final unless one of them finishes second in the group, not the final. There you go. Grish has looked at it. So if Argentina and Brazil played each other on the 13th or the 14th, one of them will be in the final and one of them will be coming home, which means if you play in the semi-final, I don't know whether anyone's got the date for the quarterfinals, but what I was told a couple of days ago is anyone, whether it's a United player or not, if you play in the semi-finals, you probably won't play for your club team until New Year. Because they're anticipating that you give every player who's played in the World Cup at least 7 to 10 days off. Every club. Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, everyone. Juventus, Bayern Munich. I don't know whether it's unofficial guidance from UEFA or FIFA, but if you play in the semi-final, there's no chance really that you're going to play for us against Bournemouth or Wolves before New Year, because players will be given time off. The third place game as well. Fucking hell, yeah. Yeah, you're fucked then, aren't you? Yeah, if you play in the semi-finals, that's a great point. If you play in the semi-finals, no one's getting released early. You're playing on the 17th in a third place game. So if you get to the semi-final, forget it. You're not playing for United or anyone else until the New Year. Because 17th of December is the third and fourth place playoff, and the 18th is the final. Week off after that, you're not even going to be back in training. Yeah, they're not going to play. So basically, if you want any United player at the World Cup to play against Forest on the 27th, they need to be knocked out in the quarterfinals. Quarterfinals is the cutoff. We'll talk about it over the next few weeks, of course, but basically, anyone who wins the quarterfinal ain't playing for United until New Year, because they're going to get a break afterward. So it's going to be tough. You know, we look at those games against Forest and Wolves and you go, they're winnable, but it depends, doesn't it? It depends what sort of team you can put out, which is why I think it's really important that Garnacho didn't go to the World Cup. Sancho needs to get back. Martial's important. McTominay, even Donny. These players could be massively important. Will we get our transfer business done early for once as ETA? And can I just say this as well? If England, Portugal, Brazil and Argentina get to the semi-finals, Casemiro, Fred, Anthony, Martinez, Rashford, Shaw, Maguire, Ronaldo, Bruno, Delo won't play till New Year. 10 first team players won't play till New Year if England, Portugal, Argentina and Brazil make it to the semi-final. That's crazy. People aren't talking about it. They're not realising. They're thinking they're all back on the 27th. Not going to answer. Not going to happen. So does that make your approach to the World Cup different? Does that make you think, and what teams do you want to get knocked out? I mean, to be honest with you, I'd like Brazil to get knocked out. I think Casemiro, Brazil and Denmark, I want them out in the quarterfinals because I want them, games are won and lost in the midfield. I want Casemiro and Eriksen. But yeah, you could see that happening. You could see Argentina, Brazil, England and Portugal making the semi-finals. Will we get our transfer business done early for once, says Erik Ten Hag? Depends how much they play, says Adam. Yes and no. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't leave your squad early. If you make the semi-finals, you're not leaving Qatar until the 18th. Fly back to where you live, 20th, 19th, bit of time with your family, Christmas, back in training, not till, Boxing Day. You're not playing against Wolves and you're not playing against Forest, are you? Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. We'll digest more of that a little bit later. But it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because when we're doing the United Stand shows over the World Cup, I think we will also be analysing what our players are doing in the World Cup. On one hand, you want them to do well. On the other hand, you're like, okay, now this is going to have a big problem for us. As I said, this is what I mean about top four. I don't think you can predict anything. You can't predict we're going to win the Carabao Cup because we're going to put a weak team out against Burnley. You can't predict we're going to get top four because, all right, we've got squad issues, but also how many points are we going to drop over Christmas? It's such a hard thing to do, and it will impact other teams, of course. Thanks everyone for watching. Really enjoy the Friday night show. Love it. If you want to get one of these Christmas jumpers, they're still available. Knitted, beautiful. Links in the description. Delivered worldwide. Check it out for that. I'll be back in the morning. Also got the chart show as well. Thanks everyone for watching. Loved it. Great show on a Friday night. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. I'll speak to you in a bit. What a load of bollocks this World Cup is. Fucking joke. Burnley.